There are people who can't turn their minds off, who analyze every conversation hours after it's over, who see patterns and connections everywhere, who think about thinking, who question everything, including their own questions. They're the ones lying awake at 3 a.m. replaying a conversation from 3 years ago, who spend 20 minutes deciding what to order at a restaurant because every choice has implications, who can't watch a movie without analyzing the cinematography, the character motivations, the deeper themes, and they've heard it their whole lives. You're overthinking it. Just stop thinking so much. You're in your head too much. Not everything has to be that deep. You're exhausting yourself. But here's what people don't understand. People who think too much aren't choosing to do it, and they're not just anxious, overthinkers with a bad habit. They have a specific psychological profile, a constellation of traits that all connect to each other. So today, we're going deep. We're exploring the traits that people who think too much usually share. And by the end of this video, you'll understand not just what these traits are, but why they all come together in the same person. Let's go deeper. Let's start with the most obvious one, even though it makes people uncomfortable to say it. People who think too much are usually highly intelligent. And I don't mean they're smarter than everyone else or that they're better. I mean their cognitive processing power is higher than average. Their brain can hold more variables, see more possibilities, process more complexity. Here's what this looks like. A normal decision has 3 options. Their brain sees 17 options, and then 17 second-order consequences for each option, and third-order consequences, and interactions between consequences. Their mind doesn't stop at the surface level. It can't. When you have a high-processing brain, you don't choose to think deeply. Your brain automatically goes there. It's like having a powerful computer. You can't make it process less. You can only choose what to point it at. This is why just stop overthinking doesn't work for these people. That's like telling someone with 20/20 vision to see less clearly. The capacity is there, it's running. You can't just turn down the processing power. High intelligence means you see problems others don't see, patterns others don't notice, implications others don't consider. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. So your mind keeps working on them. This isn't a humble brag, it's actually exhausting. Because your brain is always running multiple processes simultaneously, always computing, always analyzing. There's rarely quiet. The second trait, people who think too much usually have anxiety or hypervigilance baked into their nervous system. And here's the thing, it's hard to tell if the thinking causes the anxiety or the anxiety causes the thinking. It's probably both. It's a loop. When your nervous system is in a chronic state of threat detection, your brain is constantly scanning for danger. What could go wrong? What am I missing? What if I made a mistake? What if people are upset with me? What if I said the wrong thing? This hypervigilance makes you think everything through because your brain believes that thorough analysis keeps you safe. If you think through every possibility, you can prevent bad outcomes. If you replay every conversation, you can catch your mistakes. If you analyze people's reactions, you can adjust your behavior. But here's the cruel part, the more you think, the more anxiety you create. Because the more you analyze, the more potential problems you find. Your thinking is supposed to reduce anxiety, but it actually generates more of it. People with this trait can't let things go, can't accept good enough, can't trust that things will be okay without extensive mental processing. Because their nervous system is saying not safe yet, keep analyzing. And the world tells them they're overthinking when really they're trying to survive. Their brain genuinely believes that thinking everything through is protective. It doesn't know it's creating the danger it's trying to prevent. The third trait, people who think too much are usually highly sensitive people. They don't just notice more, they feel more. Their nervous system processes emotional and sensory information more deeply than most people. And deep processing requires thinking. Here's how this works. Something happens. A normal person notices it, has a feeling, and moves on. A highly sensitive person notices it, has a feeling, notices the feeling, has thoughts about the feeling, notices the thoughts, has feelings about the thoughts, and then thinks about all of it. They can't experience something without also experiencing themselves experiencing it. There's a meta layer. They're always aware of their own awareness. And that creates a lot of mental activity. Highly sensitive people also pick up on subtleties that others miss. The micro-expression on someone's face, the shift in tone, the energy in the room. And once you notice these things, your brain tries to make sense of them, which means more thinking. They also feel other people's emotions intensely, so they're not just processing their own internal experience, they're processing everyone else's too. Which means their brain is running multiple emotional analysis programs simultaneously. This isn't weakness, it's depth. But depth requires processing. And processing looks like overthinking to people who don't experience the world this intensely. The fourth trait, people who think too much are usually perfectionists. And I don't mean they have high standards, I mean they have impossible standards. And the gap between their vision and reality keeps their mind perpetually active trying to close that gap. Here's how perfectionism creates overthinking. Nothing is ever quite right, so your brain is constantly analyzing what's wrong and how to fix it. Every piece of work gets reviewed dozens of times. Every decision gets second-guessed. Every action gets evaluated for flaws. Perfectionists think too much because good enough doesn't exist in their world. There's always room for improvement, always another angle to consider, always a better way it could have been done. This creates a specific kind of mental trap. The more you think, the more imperfections you find. The more imperfections you find, the more you need to think to fix them. It's an endless loop. And perfectionism isn't just about work. It extends to conversations, relationships, self-presentation. Everything gets the same treatment. Did I say that right? Could I have been clearer? Did they understand what I meant? Should I have phrased it differently? The perfectionist's mind never rests because perfection is never achieved. So the thinking never stops. It's always chasing something just out of reach. The fifth trait, people who think too much are usually introverted. Not because introverts are smarter or more anxious, but because introverts have rich inner worlds. They live in their heads. That's their natural habitat. Introverts process internally. When something happens, they don't talk it out. They think it through, alone, in their mind, for hours, sometimes days. This internal processing style means more thinking, by definition. They also need alone time to recharge. And what do they do in that alone time? They think, they reflect, they analyze, they process. The quiet time that restores them is also thinking time. Extroverts think out loud with other people. Introverts think silently with themselves. Both are thinking. But introverts' thinking is invisible, internal, and often more elaborate because it's happening entirely in their own minds without the simplification that comes from verbalizing. Plus, introverts tend to have fewer, deeper relationships. And deep relationships require understanding people at complex levels, which requires thinking about people, their motivations, their perspectives, what they need, how to support them. So introversion doesn't cause overthinking, but it provides the structure and the time and the internal focus that makes extensive thinking natural. The sixth trait, people who think too much are usually creative. Creative people see possibilities. Their minds make unusual connections. They imagine what doesn't exist yet. And all of that requires extensive mental activity. A creative mind doesn't see one solution. It sees 50%. It doesn't see the obvious path. It sees the path that could exist if you combined three unrelated ideas in a new way. This is beautiful for creating art, solving problems, or innovating. But it's exhausting for making decisions or finishing projects. Creative people also think in metaphors, narratives, and associations. So when something happens, their brain doesn't just record it. It connects it to 17 other things, creates a story about it, finds the deeper meaning, imagines alternatives. They also live partly in imagination, which means they're always thinking about potential futures, alternative pasts, different versions of reality. Their mind is constantly simulating scenarios that don't exist yet. That's a lot of mental activity. And creativity requires seeing what others don't see, which means you're always noticing more, questioning more, imagining more. Your mind is perpetually active because it's perpetually generating new ideas, connections, and possibilities. The seventh trait, people who think too much have a deep need to understand. They can't just accept that something is. They need to understand why it is, how it works, what it means, where it came from, where it's going. They need the whole picture. This is different from curiosity. Curiosity is, that's interesting. Need for understanding is, I cannot rest until I comprehend this fully. It's almost compulsive. The mind keeps working on something until it makes complete sense. These people can't tolerate ambiguity well. Or rather, they tolerate it by thinking about it extensively. If something doesn't make sense, their brain treats it like an unsolved puzzle, and it keeps working on that puzzle in the background until it clicks. This drives them to ask questions others don't ask, to research topics deeply, to connect dots that seem unrelated, to build comprehensive mental models of how things work. And all of that is thinking. Lots and lots of thinking. They also need to understand themselves. Why did I react that way? What was I really feeling? What does this pattern in my behavior mean? Where does this come from? Their own internal experience becomes something to analyze and comprehend. The need for understanding means the thinking never stops, because there's always more to understand. The world is complex. People are complex. Life is complex. And they're trying to make sense of all of it. Now here's the really interesting part. These traits don't just randomly occur in the same people. They're actually connected. High intelligence notices more, which triggers anxiety about what was noticed, which makes you more sensitive to stimuli, which feeds perfectionism, about handling things correctly, which leads to deep internal processing, which fuels creativity, which drives the need to understand everything. It's a system. Each trait reinforces the others. Intelligence gives you the capacity to think deeply. Anxiety gives you the motivation. Sensitivity gives you the material. Perfectionism gives you the standard. Introversion gives you the time and space. Creativity gives you the connections. Need for understanding gives you the drive. And they all funnel into one behavior: extensive thinking. What looks like overthinking from the outside is actually the natural result of having this specific psychological profile. These people aren't broken, they're not doing it wrong, they're operating exactly as their system is designed to operate. It's like having a race car engine in terms of mental processing. You can't drive it like a regular car, it's going to run fast and hot. That's what it does. The problem isn't that they think too much. The problem is that the world is built for people who think less. Instructions that work for normal processors don't work for high processors. Just don't think about it is useless advice. Just relax doesn't compute. Let it go misses the point entirely. What these people need isn't to stop thinking. It's to direct their thinking productively, to use their powerful processor for creation, not destruction, to point it at problems worth solving, instead of letting it spin on things they can't control. If you have most or all of these traits, I want you to hear this. You're not overthinking. You're thinking at your natural capacity. And that capacity is higher than most people's. Yes, it's exhausting sometimes. Yes, you wish you could turn your brain off. Yes, it would be easier if you could just not think about things so much. But that's like wishing you were a different person. This is who you are. Your thinking isn't the problem. The problem is trying to make your thinking fit into a framework designed for people who process differently than you do. Stop trying to think less. Start learning to think better. Use that powerful mind for things that matter. Point it at creation, not rumination. At problem solving, not problem creation. At understanding the world, not tearing yourself apart. You have a gift. A mind that can hold complexity, see connections, generate possibilities, and dive deep. That's rare. That's valuable. The world needs people who think deeply, who see what others miss, who ask the questions no one else is asking. Yes, you'll always think more than most people. You'll always analyze more, notice more, process more. But that's your superpower, not your flaw. As long as you use it, instead of being used by it. Drop your country or city in the comments. Let's see where all the overthinkers are watching from. Hit subscribe, we go deeper every day. And remember, your mind isn't too much. It's exactly enough for the life you're meant to live. The trick isn't silencing it, it's learning to dance with it, to work with your nature, not against it. That's where your power lives. Not in thinking less, in thinking intentionally. That's the difference between overthinking and deep thinking. And you're capable of both. Choose wisely.